because we want to make sure that illegal and harmful content isn't rewarded.
Mr. Speaker, when a child views an inappropriate image online, they can't unsee it. I have been horrified recently with the number of parents coming to me about inappropriate ads popping up on kids' digital games. Would the Minister agree to meet with me? Some of these images are absolutely horrendous and children are viewing them at a very early age. Would the Minister meet with me to discuss this ongoing issue?
I or one of my ministers will absolutely meet with her. She is right to say once you've seen something you can't unsee it, and I think especially for young minds, we all know how young children will remember it and maybe wake up in the night and talk to you about things that they have seen that they don't understand and they're too young to see. So I'm more than happy for myself or my ministers to meet with her, see those images for ourselves and speak to Ofcom and others about what we can do to try and stop this.
So, Secretary, Shadow Minister Dr Ben Spencer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, does she regret having been forced into a ban on social media for under 16s in the Children's Wellbeing in Schools Act and not committing to it in the first place or introducing a bill in the King's Speech?
No.
Charlie Joest.
Question number 2, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Cloward. Decent ministers regularly meet representatives from science and technology communities. The UK has seized the moment in AI, in quantum, in semiconductors. We will keep building British sovereign strength and alongside it work with allies across the European Union.
Charlie Joest.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now, European tech leaders and some member states are concerned that the EU's approach to digital regulation is strangling their ability to compete. So will the Secretary of State or the Minister rule out binding the UK tech industry to a legal framework that could stifle growth in this vital area of the economy?
Well, the feedback from UK tech businesses has been clear. Britain has now got the highest share of venture investment in Europe for 16 years. We have now got IT and technology driving productivity upwards alongside capital from the British Business Bank and Sovereign AI. Of course, we will work on redoing the work of the botched Brexit deal, but alongside that, we will maintain British sovereign strength in technology and AI.
Number 3, Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This Labour government is the first in a decade to publish a digital inclusion action plan to ensure everybody benefits from our digital society. Of the 11.9 million Digital Inclusion Innovation Fund, 73% supported charities, many of them grassroots organisations. Through Digital ID, work that I lead on, we are supporting digital inclusion and engaging expert grassroots organisations directly to help ensure that we get this right and that they are included.
Josh Bubble.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. NHS Sussex found that Eastbourne, despite being the sunniest town in the UK, is one of the most digitally excluded patches of Sussex. There are great organisations like Tech Resort, run by Liz Crew and Will Callaghan, doing work to help bridge the digital divide. However, they will be scuppered by the closing of the Digital Inclusion Innovation Fund, whose last grants expired last month. So will the Minister commit to reviewing whether that fund will be reopened and set out a timeline for that so that Tech Resort can benefit?
The honourable gentleman raises a very important point, and I know he has excellent record in this area. The Digital Inclusion Fund was designed for a one-year programme to understand what works in digital inclusion. I share the members' concerns, and we remain committed to building a digitally inclusive society, including our public services, which we are making more personalised, joining up and digital, so that everybody is included and benefits from them, as we all expect our public services to be as adequate and as inclusive as they can be.
Question 4, Mr. Speaker.
Sarah Stay.
Making it as simple as possible for parents and children to get involved in our consultation is really important to me personally, because I know this is an issue so many families grapple with every single day. We've got dedicated surveys for parents and young people. Almost 38,000 parents and 12,700 young people have completed the surveys so far, alongside all the events I and my ministers have taken part in. But there is still a week to go, so anybody who watches DSIT questions, please get involved, answer, because we want to know what you think We want your views because we've got to get this right.
Fred Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I speak to parents in Plymouth about this topic regularly. 92% of parents are concerned about the impact of social media, but many just don't have time to complete a lengthy consultation. I'm also noting concerns raised about the framing of some of the questions in the consultation, including prompts to consider the benefits of social media, the absence of any clear mechanism to consider evidence from medical experts and frontline professionals, separately to submissions from tech companies, who obviously have a commercial interest in opposing any potential restrictions, and also the use of AI to analyse responses. So can the Secretary of State confirm that these concerns will be taken into account when assessing the consultation results, and reiterate her commitment to taking bold and decisive action this summer?
Let me just reassure him on some of those points. We have had 38,000 parents respond to the surveys, which I think is good, but there's more to be done there. In terms of medical professionals, we've had a response from the Royal College of Psychiatrists, multiple individual medical doctors, health professionals for safer screens, and local providers like Cardiff Children's Services. And we also have an expert panel that includes, that is chaired by the eminent paediatrician Professor Russell Viner, and also many psychologists and psychiatrists on that. We are actively seeking views of medical professionals and parents. There's still a week to go. Many honourable members have actually fed in individual views from their constituencies, and I'd encourage everybody to do so in the remaining 6 days.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. A considerable number of parents in my constituency of Edinburgh West have written to me concerned about the children's safety and the online dangers. They welcome the government's consultation, but they are concerned about the timing. They would like some reassurances about how quickly it will be dealt with, and if the Minister has any advice for them at time being and how they can help the children deal with the threat.
Come forward with proposals before the summer. We've already taken powers in the Children's Act to implement the results of that consultation, which I intend to do by the end of the year. In the meanwhile, we aren't waiting. I've taken a number of steps to amend various acts to give greater protection, and also produced a really brilliant set of advice for parents. You don't know until you ask about how to talk to kids about social media at different ages. It's available free online, and I have personally found it very helpful.
Bob Mohammed.
Thank you, Mr. Question number 5, Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
Well, there are 3 particular things this government is doing to make sure artificial intelligence is developed responsibly and developed here. 1, build deep capability in government with the AI Security Institute. 2, to develop a wider AI assurance sector so that Britain is at the frontier in that context as well. And 3, robust regulation at the point of use.
Bob Mohammed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Given the growing warnings from leading scientists, industry figures and Nobel laureates that advanced AI systems could pose existential risks on a par with nuclear or biological threats, does the Secretary of State agree with me that the current reliance on voluntary commitments through the AI Security Institute is insufficient, and will she outline what concrete steps the government will now take to move beyond non-binding agreements and to introduce enforceable, internationally agreed standards?
I point out to the honourable member that there are a series of regulations at the point of use that apply to AI algorithms and systems as well. Second, that we have taken powers in the Crime and Policing Act to allow us to bring unregulated chatbots into the scope of that Act and its requirements on illegal content. And third, through the AI Security Institute, Britain has been at the frontier internationally on both thinking about policies and thinking about the best ways of developing our capability, a cross of both mandatory regulatory contexts that I've just mentioned and, of course, some voluntary requirements on top of that too.
Mr. Speaker, AC's pre-release analysis of AI models did not prevent the production by Grok of over 3 million sexualised images. Even Steve Bannon, of all people, is now calling for mandatory pre-release vetting of AI models. So can I ask if the time has come for the UK to review our voluntary approach?
Well, can I thank my honourable friend for having raised this topic with deep expertise as well. On the particular question of Grok, she'll be very aware that the regulatory and legal context made a number of those instances illegal. We will continue to enforce very robust law on those questions and, of course, develop our ongoing conversations on further policy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Given the rapid advances we are seeing recently from frontier AI models in areas such as identifying software vulnerabilities and rapid testing for those vulnerabilities in a very sophisticated way, what engagement is the government having with those frontier companies, particularly in relation to Anthropic? And is the government considering making changes to the carried-over cybersecurity bill to address these very, very real vulnerabilities?
Well, on the question of engagement, can I first point out and pay tribute to the AI Security Institute, one of the only labs in the world which had engaged with all the frontier companies prior to deployment of models, in this case with Anthropic's Mythos model as well. On the broader question of the Cybersecurity and Resilience Bill, a major reason for bringing data centres in scope in the way that we have done is to appreciate the particular cyber risks applying to them. We will continue to keep that under review.
Emily Darling.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. One of the best ways to make sure that AI is developed, both contributing to innovation and to growth, is to set very high standards. We are lucky to have the British Standards Institute, the oldest standards institute in the world, and I'm very lucky that they are based in Milton Keynes. Will he join me in wishing them a huge happy birthday on this momentous year for them, but also can he say what kind of engagement he's had on their work to set high, reassuring standards for AI's development?
Well, my honourable friend has been a remarkable champion for the BSI, and I know this on this and wider questions as well. I won't sing happy birthday, but I will certainly wish them a very happy birthday and look forward to continuing my conversations with them.
Tory College Liberal Democrat spokesperson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Working across departments and with my technology counterpart in the Lords, we've published a comprehensive paper on how Britain can thrive in the age of AI, calling for a digital sovereign strategy and an integrated approach to AI that is bold and responsible, pro-innovation, pro-trust, and built alongside industry and civic expertise I'd be happy to discuss. What we see is Britain has a leading place in AI services, but we've squandered leads before, and the government hasn't offered a coherent joined-up strategy to do this differently, centred on trust and standards. So I ask, where is the government's AI bill, and can we have guarantees that the Labour's latest internal drama will not cost Britain its most important economic opportunity in a generation?
Well, can I just gently point to the Honourable Lady that there is a very clear strategy we set out early on, the AI Opportunities Action Plan. We have then built in public. It is a public dashboard. You can follow progress right across the country, 75% of it delivered. And just this week we found out that IT and AI have driven productivity revivals for this country as well. We're firing on all cylinders when it comes to UK AI.
We now come to topical Sclebions.
Question number 1, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, if I can briefly say, this government believes Britain's national interests are strengthened, not diminished, when we work with like-minded countries. That's why next week I'll be joining other G7 nations, coming together as democracies to discuss how we shape tech and AI to work for all, and why I'll be proud to showcase the best of Britain's AI strengths on the world stage at London Tech Week in June.
Clive Jones.
Life science companies like Becton Dickinson in my constituency of Wokingham play a key role in advancing the research and innovation that will help deliver the National Cancer Plan and transform cancer care. So what is the Minister doing to increase funding to research and development for life science companies like those in my constituency?
I know the honourable gentleman is a powerful advocate of life sciences nationally and in his constituency. We see them as one of our greatest national assets, not only helping to save lives but drive jobs, growth and innovation. I'm very proud that this government has put in the largest ever investment into research and development, including into life sciences, and that we are investing £730,000 supporting 7 projects in Wokingham, because we know that's good for his constituents and the country.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I don't know if I've ever told you, Mr. Speaker, but Harlow is the birthplace of the fibre optic cable. I want children in Harlow to feel confident they can get the brilliant jobs of the future that tech can provide them. So can I ask the Secretary of State what she's going to do to make sure that happens?
We want to ensure people from all walks of life and in every part of the country can seize the opportunities that tech and AI bring. That is why we are upskilling 10 million workers, a third of the workforce, in AI skills, why we're investing £170 million in the Tech First programme to help young people get skills and training, and why we've launched the first ever Level 4 apprenticeship in AI, so young people in Harlow can fulfil their ambitions, and so we build a better country for all.
Secretary of State Julie Lopez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was born in Harlow, would you believe? Can the Secretary of State guarantee that under Labour's EU reset, Britain will not align with any EU tech rules, including the AI Act?
This government wants to ensure we have a closer relationship for Europe, because we see every day the terrible impacts that their Brexit deal brings. But I am also clear that we will continue our pragmatic, not dogmatic approach to regulation, because Britain is the second country in the Western world for AI, and we want to retain those benefits to grow the economy and create good jobs throughout the country.
Julie Lopez.
Mr. Speaker, there was absolutely no clear answer from the Secretary of State there, so I think it sounds like Labour is about to trade away our Brexit freedoms on tech regulation. And yet tech ministers have been briefing behind the scenes that we must not lose Britain's Brexit freedoms on tech when it comes to AI, data, agri-tech. So will she now publicly admit what her ministers have been briefing behind those closed doors? Brexit was not some exercise in nostalgia pushed on us by uninformed thickos. It's given Britain a competitive advantage in the industries of the future.
I mean, perhaps unusually, I don't listen to and never get involved in briefings, but I am very clear about the huge advantages this country has. World-leading talent, some of the most innovative tech startups. In the last year alone, we got more VC funding for tech and AI in this country than France, Germany, combined. We are going to back Britain because we believe in Britain. £500 million in a sovereign AI fund, 4 AI growth zones in parts of the country that have been levelled up more under this government than under 14 years under members opposite. We are going to seize this powerful technology to build a future that works for all, and I am very proud of our work.
Sarah Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My constituent Debbie Duncan set up a petition calling on the government to tackle tragedy trolling, which has attracted over 18,000 signatures. Does the Minister agree with me that it is time for action, and will he or she support a debate to help take this forward?
We are absolutely focused on precisely those features that so many parents are worried about. Children doom scrolling, the fact that they are on their phones overnight and the impact that that can have on their anxiety, mental health and sleep. The question isn't whether we will act, we will. We will put forward our proposals by the summer, and I intend to legislate, if required, by the end of the year.
We now come to Prime Minister's questions. We start with Christine Sullivan.
Question number 1, Mr. Speaker.
Prime Minister.
Thank you. May I extend my deepest condolences, and I'm sure the condolences of the House, to the family and colleagues of Lance Bombardier Keir Sullivan, who lost her life in a tragic incident on Friday. She was an exceptional soldier and will be deeply missed. Mr. Speaker, it would be remiss of me not to comment on one of Manchester's great heroes, moving on after almost a decade. So let me congratulate Pep Guardiola on all his success at Manchester City. And, Mr. Speaker, if I could declare an interest, I'd also like to say congratulations to Arsenal Football Club on becoming the Premier League champions. Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. In addition to my duties in this House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and may I share the condolences expressed by the Prime Minister.
From the Russian invasion of Ukraine to the Iran war, people have struggled with the cost of living. In my constituency of Bathgate and Linlithgow, in the heart of Scotland, road travel and logistics are key to everyday life and local industry, with the Road Haulage Association headquartered in Bathgate. What reassurance can the Prime Minister offer my constituents that this government will tackle household bills and business cost pressures?
Well, families across the United Kingdom are facing impacts of a war that we did not choose. So it's welcome news today that inflation is falling. Mr. Speaker, there is more that we can do, and I can announce today that we're giving our hauliers a 12-month road tax holiday, helping to keep prices down. And we're backing drivers by extending the freeze in fuel duty for the rest of the year. This is possible because of the decisions taken by the Chancellor, making us the fastest-growing economy in the G7, and she will set out further action tomorrow. Mr. Speaker, this is not our war, but while the parties opposite wanted to jump into it, Labour will always protect working people.
Leader of the Opposition, Kemi Beno.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I'd like to associate myself with the words of the Prime Minister regarding the tragic death of Lance Bombardier Keir Sullivan. We send our condolences to her family for this terrible loss. I welcome some of what the Prime Minister has said on fuel duty. Yes, it's still a freeze, but we asked him about this on the 11th of March and the 25th of March, and he said he wasn't going to do it. So thank you for the U-turn. Thank you for the U-turn. Labour MPs are shaking their heads. It would make more sense if they just did what we were doing, because they get there in the end anyway. But, Mr. Speaker, yesterday, Labour MPs voted to ban new British oil and gas licences. Why?
Well, Mr. Speaker, in relation to fuel duty, under the plans that we inherited, fuel duty was due to go up by 5% in April. We stopped that, and they voted against it. We're now extending the freeze because of events in the Middle East. And I know the Leader of the Opposition likes to claim responsibility for things that have got literally nothing to do with her. In her mind, she won Eurovision on Saturday and scored the winning goal in the FA Cup final. But she's never takes any responsibility for what they did for 14 long years. Mr. Speaker, in relation to oil and gas is coming out of the North Sea 24/7. It will play an important role for many years to come. We're supporting existing oil and gas fields throughout their lifespan. We made changes actually in November to allow neighbouring fields to be exploited. But families across the UK are fed up with their bills going up and down because of global conflict. The only way to take control is through renewables. Mr. Speaker, we've now consented renewables to power 23 million households. The Leader of the Opposition wants to stick with the old Tory energy policy, which is leaving households exposed to higher bills year after year.
Mr. Speaker, what's causing problems for British consumers is the high energy prices, which are caused by his policies. I asked him why they voted for this. He had no answer. So let me make clear what is going on. We are losing 1,000 jobs a month in oil and gas. I asked him about new licences, not about existing drilling. And then, late last night, Mr. Speaker, the government snuck out an announcement that it was removing sanctions on Russian oil. So can the Prime Minister explain why oil from Russia is acceptable, but oil from Aberdeen is not?
Well, Mr. Speaker, let me address the sanctions head-on, because we have been united across this House on these issues since the beginning of the conflict. What we announced yesterday was a strong new package of new sanctions, going well beyond existing sanctions. So it's a new package. This includes new bans on maritime services on LNG and new bans on refined oil products from Russia. We also issued 2 targeted short-term licences to phase the new sanctions in and to protect UK consumers. Mr. Speaker, that is standard practice. This government has used This government has phased in sanctions in this way before, and the last government used exactly the same technique when they introduced sanctions. And when they did so, Mr. Speaker, we supported them because we could see the sanctions were the right thing to do to bear down on Russia. So these are new sanctions being phased in. This is not a question of lifting existing sanctions in any way whatsoever, and we will continue to work with our allies on further sanction packages.
It's a very weak set of cheers from the MPs who are trying to get rid of him, could I just say. Mr. Speaker, he doesn't know what he is talking about. This level of processology is not going to get him out of these difficult answers, OK? Let me tell him what is going on. Labour are giving money to Russia, Reform are taking money from Russia. There's only one party that is standing up to Russia, and that is the Conservative Party. I cannot believe that he's actually saying that he's doing something good on the war in Ukraine. What's he talking about? This morning, Ukraine's sanction chief disagrees with what the Prime Minister's approach is. That's what Ukraine is saying. In March, when the United States eased sanctions on Russia, the Prime Minister said all partners should maintain pressure on Russia and its war chest. The Prime Minister said our sanctions remain, and there is no question about that. What's changed?
I really think on an issue of this importance, which is about further sanctions on Russia in relation to Ukraine, it is really important that the position is not misrepresented. Exactly. This is a new package of sanctions. None of the existing sanctions are being lifted in any way. So this is not less pressure on Russia, it is more pressure on Russia. More pressure than there was the day before yesterday, more pressure than there was under the last government. What is happening is that those sanctions are being phased in a way which was used by the last government when they introduced new sanctions. We bothered to do the processology and work out what we were doing and supported it because we could see that it put more pressure on Russia. Similar methods are used by other countries. They are done because of the impact on the market and to protect UK consumers. These are new sanctions putting more pressure on Russia, and I think if she'd done her homework, she'd actually support us on this.
Mr. Speaker, being patronising is not a substitute for understanding policy. And I've heard this term. Mr. Speaker, I've heard this tone before. This is the same tone he used during the Mandelson scandal, and they were all cheering, and then it turned out that he was wrong, wrong, wrong. He says that other countries are doing this. The EU is not doing this. Let me make it clear. I know it hurts him to hear it. He is now choosing to buy dirty Russian oil. That money will be used to fund the killing of Ukrainian soldiers. Isn't he ashamed?
I really think that to misunderstand and misrepresent what is happening, this is a very serious issue where we're working with others. These are new bans, they're new sanctions, they're new bans on maritime services on LNG as of yesterday. They're new bans on refined oil products from Russia as of yesterday. They are being phased in the same way that previous sanctions regimes have been phased in, exactly in the way the last government did and we have done. Other countries do exactly the same. The EU has its own way of doing it. Australia and Canada have their own way of doing it. And to play party politics on Ukraine, where we have stood firm, and the only people that benefit when we play party politics in here on Russia and Ukraine is Putin.
Mr. Speaker, that pompous tone does not cover for the fact that he has got his policy all wrong. I have asked him about oil and gas again and again and again. The last time he told me that it was the Energy Secretary's job and it had nothing to do with him. That's what's destroying this country. It's not playing politics. It's speaking up for the people who are out there. The fact is, more people are buying Russian oil because British oil isn't being drilled. He's sanctioning British oil, but not Russian oil. And he should be ashamed, Mr. Speaker. he should be ashamed. I cannot believe that this Prime Minister, even when he has nothing to lose, continues to defend banning new British oil and gas licences. In April, Britain saw the single biggest drop in employment ever since the pandemic. That's under them. 210,000 people have lost their jobs in the last year. What he is doing is going to cost thousands more people their jobs, especially in cities like Aberdeen, which rely on oil and gas. So can he tell us, why is he doing everything to save his job and doing nothing to save other people's jobs?
Mr. Speaker, there is drilling in the North Sea, and on her, she said there's no drilling in the North Sea. She said, going to have to refer herself to the Privileges Committee, Mr. Speaker. There is drilling. It's 24/7, and oil and gas are coming out, and that will be important for many, many years to come. We are supporting those existing oil and gas fields throughout their lifespan. We made changes in November to allow neighbouring fields to be exploited. But it is because we are on the international market that our prices of businesses and households go up every time there's an international conflict. We saw it with Ukraine, or we saw it with Iran. And people are fed up with a government, the last government, that didn't take control of their bills. We're taking control of their bills. The way to do that is through renewables, and that's what we're doing.
Mr. Speaker, it gets worse and worse. He doesn't understand the policy. I am asking him about new oil and gas licences, which they voted against yesterday. If they had approved those licences for Jackdaw and Rosebank like we did, we would have that oil in this country now. We would. And just listen to him, and I wonder if he is okay. He is so deep in the bunker, Mr. Speaker. He's importing sanctioned Russian oil. He's nationalising steel. He's imposing price controls in the supermarket. It's like the Soviets won. This country needs a government that has got its act together, Mr. Speaker. Instead, what we have is a Prime Minister hanging by a thread, fake support from his backbenchers, too scared to take difficult decisions, losing his moral compass by backsliding on Ukraine. Yes, he is. Mr. Speaker, look, the shakes of their head are so feeble. It's so feeble. He has got... They can... It's absolutely laughable, Mr. Speaker. It's absolutely laughable. Yesterday, we saw them huddled in the corridors talking about Andy Burnham and West Streeting. The fact is, he's got a cabinet fighting to replace him, and the worst part is, they aren't getting rid of him over his terrible agenda. No, they actually like it. They just want a better salesman. So isn't it the case, Mr. Speaker, that it doesn't matter who replaces him, the real problem is the Labour Party?
Mr. Speaker,
I think not, Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, look, a lot's been happening in recent days, so she may have overlooked the fact that last week the ONS announced we've got the fastest growing economy in the G7. Last week we had the biggest fall in NHS waiting lists for 17 years. Today inflation's come down more than expected. And Mr. Speaker, if you'd offered me that and Arsenal becoming Premier League champions, I'd take it every day of the week.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This year marks the 20th anniversary of the Royal Regiment of Scotland. 20 years of duty, courage, and for 23 of its soldiers, the ultimate sacrifice in service to our country. Across Scotland, more than 20 councils have already recognised their service by granting the regiment the freedom of their area, reflecting Scotland's long and proud tradition of respecting our armed forces. Earlier this month, however, Glasgow SNP and Green councillors rejected Labour's motion to grant the Royal Regiment freedom of the city. It is a shameful snub to our servicemen and women, and a decision that has left many Glaswegians feeling ashamed and embarrassed. Does the Prime Minister agree that this is an insult to those who serve, and will he join me in urging Glasgow City Council to reconsider?
can I join my honourable friend in paying tribute to the bravery and sacrifice of the Royal Regiment of Scotland? I've had the privilege of meeting Scots serving in our armed forces across the world. They deserve our deepest gratitude. I cannot understand how the SNP and Greens have arrived at this decision, particularly when Glaswegians have contributed so much to the Royal Regiment. It's not too late to do the right thing, and I'd urge them to reconsider.
Leader of the Liberal Democrats, Sir Ed Davey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I join the Prime Minister in sending our condolences to the family of Lance Bombardier, Keir Sullivan, at the death, that tragic accident, and to all her colleagues. And I hope the Prime Minister will also join me in sending condolences to the family of Scott Hastings, the former Scottish and Lions rugby player who sadly passed away at the weekend. Mr. Speaker, in 2025, Donald Trump and Elon Musk abolished America's international aid programme. At the same time, the government made huge cuts in the UK's own programme. We now see a dangerous outbreak of Ebola in Central Africa, and many people fear it's going to spread and get much worse. Yet there are rumours across Whitehall that the Prime Minister is planning further cuts to Britain's international aid programme this year. Will he today rule that out entirely?
Mr. Speaker, he raised a very important issue in relation to Ebola and Africa, and obviously we're working at pace and with others in relation to that issue. We did take a decision in relation to aid in order to fund defence spending, because we needed to increase defence spending, but we are committed to our overseas aid, and we mitigated that with some of the measures that we put in place.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not sure if the Prime Minister completely ruled out further cuts to the international aid programme. And with defence chiefs this week writing to the Times saying cutting aid for defence is a mistake, I hope he and his ministers will rule that out today. And if he doesn't, I hope Labour Party members will ask all the Labour leadership candidates their position on the future of Britain's aid programme. Mr. Speaker, in the past few days, two of those Labour leadership candidates, the Right Honourable Gentleman, the member for Ilford North, and the Mayor of Manchester, have ruled out any support for Britain joining the UK customs union with the EU, despite the fact that it would boost growth and help us cut the cost of living. Is the Prime Minister relieved that he has finally something that he can agree with his colleagues on?
Mr. Speaker, in the last 2 years I've been negotiating serious trade deals which are vital for our most important sectors of the economy. They're trade deals with the EU, but also with India, North Korea and the United States. And I remind him of the value of those deals. Before the deal with the United States, I went to JLR in Solihull and I talked to the workforce there. They were worried sick about their jobs and the jobs of their communities. When we agreed terms, I went back to JLR because of the deal we got with the EU, because their jobs, thousands of jobs, were safeguarded. His approach would throw all that away. He would have to go and see those workforces and tell them their jobs are gone. I'm not going to do that.
What happened?
Mr. Speaker, I welcome the steps taken to clean up British politics via the landmark elections bill, but we must go further. If I had a £5 million gift from a billionaire living halfway across the world and not come clean about what that money was for, my constituents would be furious. And if the same billionaire had then bankrolled my party to the tune of £12 million, my constituents would be knocking on my door and calling for me to resign. Does the Prime Minister agree that the elections bill must ensure that no British politician is ever for sale to the highest bidder?
I thank my honourable friend who makes a powerful case. We have already committed to a moratorium on crypto donations to political parties, and the King's speech introduces tougher rules to protect our democracy. But the £5 million question is, why did the Reform leader keep this donation secret? I see he's not here to answer. And what did the billionaire lining his pockets ask for in return? Those questions need to be answered. That's why he's not here.
Dave Duggan.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, for calling me for my first PMQ since becoming SNP Westminster leader following the SNP's stunning victory in Scotland. Can I say about how much I'm enjoying the sense of challenge and opportunity that a new job can provide, a sense of renewal I'm certain the Prime Minister will be enjoying in the weeks ahead. But we saw this week, Mr Speaker, the latest chapter of Labour infighting, where Andy Burnham Brexit wants the UK to stay out of the EU, but Peter Mandelson's pal, the former Health Minister, wants us to go back into the EU. Can the Prime Minister advise us which of his potential successors does he agree with?
Well, can I congratulate him on his new post and thank him for the calm, reasonable approach that I've come to expect. My position is very clear. We have already negotiated a closer relationship with the EU. We did that last year. We have another negotiation and agreement this year at a summit where we'll get even closer and take a big step forward in relation to our relationship with the EU, which is in our national interest.
Chris Vince from Hollow.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr Speaker. And the Prime Minister will be pleased to know I'm going to ask him a question about his favourite topic, which is football. There are people in this House that seek to blame the Prime Minister for everything, but I thought it was a bit rich when one national newspaper blamed the Prime Minister for Harlow Town going into administration because he once went to visit them. But as I know Harlow Town is very much the Prime Minister's second team, he will please to be know they are now out of administration, looking forward to a strong future. Can I ask the Prime Minister what his government will do to support really important community assets like our football teams, like Harlow Town and Roydon, who also won their league this season?
Well, I've got very fond memories of visiting Harlow Town with my honourable friend. But the point he makes is a really important one, because football clubs bring our communities together. They're part of our social fabric, and in some places they're one of the last places left where members of the community can come together. And that's why my government fought so hard to create the independent football regulator to protect our national game. And we should remind everyone and every football fan across the country, from Harlow to Wigan Athletic, it was Labour on the side of football fans, and the Tories and the Reforms opposed us every step of the way.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. This month's local election saw the biggest ever gap between votes and seats in England. Over 5 parties won more than 15% of the vote, or estimated to have done so. The public have increasingly clear that the public have had enough of Westminster business as usual. So does the Prime Minister still have full confidence in the first-past-the-post system to deliver strong and stable government?
Yes, I do.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Trump's war in Iran means the world will have to contend with a spike in inflation throughout this year. Many of my Cannock Chase constituents struggle to afford their weekly shop, whilst our farmers struggle to make a living producing what goes on the shelves. Labour governments should always be on the side of working people, whether they are in the supermarket or on the farm. If we aren't, we will not be forgiven. Will the Prime Minister follow the example of our European neighbours, including Ireland, and bring in a package of support for our farmers to help them stay afloat and protect our constituents from the worst of Trumpflation?
Mr Speaker, before I answer that, I've just been handed a note saying that I inadvertently said we did a trade deal with North Korea rather than South Korea. That would be breaking news and not very good. So, before I'm referred to the Privilege Committee, can I correct the record, Mr Speaker, in that regard? It was a slip of the tongue, but a pretty unfortunate one. In relation to the question, families and farmers are rightly frustrated about being impacted by a war that the UK didn't start. We're protecting working people is our priority. And today, Mr Speaker, we're cutting red diesel costs for farmers by a third, delivering the lowest rate for 20 years. That's alongside a record £11.8 billion on farming budget and a new national programme to redistribute surplus food. We'll make sure no one in this country goes hungry. And I can confirm the Chancellor will make further announcements tomorrow.
Hannah Spencer.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Well,
In Gorton and Denton, we have to pay full price for a pint. But here, for some reason, it's cheaper, and some MPs drink before voting. And that really shocked me when I came to Parliament, because it is our workplace. Now, does the Prime Minister agree with his own MPs who've defended their right to drink cheap alcohol at work? Or does he agree with me that MPs shouldn't be drinking on the job, given that we vote on huge things like the climate crisis, disabled people's rights, housing, child poverty?
Sort your policies out.
Can I firstly welcome her to our place, because I think this is her first PMQ. Look, there are going to be different views on whether people should be able to enjoy a drink here or not. But I think we can agree that the majority of people in this country want an economy that works for them, public services that are there when they need them, and every child going as far as their talent or ability will take them. But the only way to deliver that is through a Labour government, as we are doing. And I know the Greens think that their leader walks on water. It turns out that he just lives on water and doesn't pay his council tax.
Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On a more serious note, sometimes we all have those meetings with constituents that really stick with us. For me, it was the lady who came to my surgery and told me about the character AI chatbot that had groomed her 12-year-old son. The chatbot turned him against his school, against his parents, made sexual advances, and even suggested that the bot and the boy might meet in the afterlife. Since this happened last year, I have been on the case with the government, and I'm pleased that we've taken new powers to regulate AI services. But still, every day, more young people are being harmed in this way, and they won't be safe until the tech companies can no longer access them in this way. So can the Prime Minister tell me how and when he will act to finally make the online world a safe place for our children?
The story of her constituent is deeply concerning. I thank her for raising it. It underlines why we must and we will act. We have already acted by shutting legal loopholes, so AI chatbots must abide by the Online Safety Act. But we have obviously got to look at what further measures we can take, including age-related bans, restricting children's use of chatbots, and stronger parental controls. And I am meeting parents, teenagers and civil society later on this afternoon to discuss further stronger protections for children. We'll make sure that she is updated on those steps.
Alison Griffiths.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At 19, I was in a coma after contracting bacterial meningitis. I lost 70% of my hearing and needed open-heart surgery. The MenB vaccine has saved lives since its introduction in 2015 for infants, but there remains a gap for high-risk adolescents whom the JCVI has not vaccinated. Following the devastating outbreaks within this cohort in Reading, Canterbury and Weymouth, the JCVI is finally reviewing the evidence base. So can the Prime Minister tell the House what are the government's next steps, when will they happen, and will he make tackling meningitis a priority for his new Secretary of State and arrange a meeting for Meningitis Now and me?
Yes, I will do both of those things. And can I thank her for raising her own experience here to highlight the issue. I think the thoughts of the whole House will be with families and friends of the young person who died. Can I thank all the public health specialists working in Reading to make sure those affected are receiving appropriate treatment. And her question reminds us that vaccines do save lives, and we must do everything we can in relation to that.
Debbie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, littering and fly tipping is a blight on our communities. Yes. This isn't just an issue for Lewisham, it's an issue for towns and cities across our countries and indeed rural areas. Nobody wants to see a dirty mattress or cans or bottles up against roads or gates. It's awful.
Yeah.
And I welcome the government's strategy and plans to give councils more powers to manage fly tipping, but I absolutely believe more needs to be done. And does the Prime Minister agree with me? It's absolutely time to have a national conversation about how we manage and deal with littering.
Well, can I thank her for raising this, because the government is cracking down on disgraceful waste criminals. Mr Speaker, that includes tougher penalties for fly tippers, including service in clean-up squads and potentially losing their driving licence, more powers and funding for the Environment Agency, and stronger checks across the industry to tackle fly tipping at its source.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The Gallows Brook in my constituency has the highest concentration of forever chemicals in the country. The BBC reports today that the concentrations are 47,000 times higher than the environmental quality standard, yet the Environment Agency has no plan for regular monitoring. A stream flows through the garden of my resident, Lee. She has suffered from ill health for 8 years. She took chickens, they have died. She had a dog, it developed a tumour and died. She's concerned that she may be poisoning her neighbours when she gives them vegetables. Will the Prime Minister agree for the Environment and Health Secretaries to meet with me and my constituents to explore what more can be done?
Yes, I will, and I thank him for raising that, and I'll make sure that the detail is looked at and that appropriate steps are taken. Can I also take this opportunity through him to mark the tragic anniversary of the devastating fire in his constituency? And I know the thoughts of the whole House remain with the families and colleagues of Martin, of Jenny and of Dave, and I know he's done a lot to support them.
Mr Speaker, a stroke happens every 5 minutes. That's 6 lives changed in the time that we have been sat in this chamber. 2 years ago, when I was sat in this chamber, my husband suffered a stroke. We know that when it comes to the right care and treatment, every single second counts. We know firsthand why the work of the Stroke Association is so important, ensuring that everyone knows the signs and symptoms, because when a stroke strikes, acting fast matters. Would the Prime Minister join me in marking Stroke Awareness Month and update the House on what he's doing to ensure every stroke survivor gets the care they need to support, to recover and to thrive?
My honourable friend raises an important issue, and government is investing in our NHS to make sure that every second counts. Can I know her husband, and I know the impact that this had on him and on her and their wider family, and can I thank her for raising such a personal issue in this chamber to highlight this point. Because of the choices we've made, ambulance response times are at their fastest for 5 years, and we're investing £10 billion to innovate technology and transformation, with the NHS already using AI to cut treatment time for stroke patients by an hour and tripling full recovery rates.
Mr. Magdalen. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For clarity, does the Prime Minister agree with Andy Burnham when he says we should rejoin the European Union? Or does he agree with Andy Burnham when he says we shouldn't rejoin the European Union?
I agree with what we said in our manifesto, which we are implementing. We are closer to the EU by the agreement we reached last year. We'll be closer again by the agreement we reached this year. We're building on the botched Brexit deal that they did, which did such damage to our country.
Mr Speaker, my community in Crewe and Nantwich has been left in deep shock and concern following allegations of serious sexual offences, forced marriage and modern slavery against members of the Ahmadi religion of peace and light. Will the Prime Minister join me in thanking Cheshire Constabulary, Cheshire East Council and wider agencies for their response to these concerning events? And will he commit to ensuring that we receive the necessary resources to deliver justice where crimes have been committed, and to reassure the wider community that this government is on their side?
Well, thank my honourable friend, and I'm grateful to all the agencies involved in enforcement action, including Cheshire Police. It is vital that local public services get the funding that they need, and that's why we've increased Cheshire's police budget by over £15 million. Mr Speaker, and we've recruited 3,000 more neighbourhood police officers while bringing forward wide-ranging reforms to ensure that everyone has access to swift and equal justice.
Sir Olney.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'm sure the Prime Minister will join me in congratulating the 54 Liberal Democrats who won all 54 seats on Richmond-upon-Thames Council at the recent local elections. But would he also agree with me that first-past-the-post system that produced this result doesn't give our communities the representation that they voted for, and that this failure to respond to voters' preferences is fuelling disengagement with our democracy? Will the Prime Minister declare his support for changing electoral systems in the UK to ensure that every vote matters?
Well, I'm really sorry. The answer is no, and I can't bring myself to congratulate the councillors, so I apologise.
John Turner.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. From 1997, the Prime Minister campaigned to scrap single-judge trials in Northern Ireland. Yet when I opposed his government's plan to bring in single-judge trials in England and Wales, I received hostile briefings and smears about my mental health from the lads in number 10 Downing Street. The Chief Whip's shaking his head, but he knows about it, Mr Speaker. The Prime Minister knows that my nephew Matty took his own life as a result of work-related stress as a young criminal lawyer. So during Mental Health Awareness Week, while ministers spoke with compassion about health and well-being, did the Prime Minister reflect on those hostile, discriminatory briefings which he knew about and he allowed to happen?
Well, can I thank him? And he has told me previously about Matty and the impact that had on him. I totally understand that, and I want to be absolutely clear that nobody should be smeared in relation to mental health. Nobody on any issue, whatever they may argue on any other issue. Nobody, and I will do everything I can to make sure that that is the position.
Kit Malthouse.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. In 5 weeks' time, the Government will be introducing penal tariffs on steel imports into the UK, and at the same time massively reducing tariff-free quotas. This will cause enormous damage to the UK manufacturing base in the absence of adequate steel-making capacity in the UK. More than that, the way the tariffs are drawn mean that for my constituent company, Stannah Stairlifts, a world-beating company based in Andover, for them to import steel into the UK and manufacture their product will face tariffs, but for a competitor import finished product made from the self-same steel will not attract tariffs. This cannot be a situation that can be allowed to persist. So could I ask the Prime Minister, please, to arrange for his Secretary of State to focus on this issue and get it sorted out?
Can I thank him for raising this really important issue, and can I give him assurance it's not just the Secretary of State. I am also absolutely focused on this because we're all very well aware of the consequences that would otherwise follow. So I'm personally vested in this, and the entire Cabinet is, because it is a very important issue, as he rightly points out.
That completes Prime Minister's questions. Let the front bench change over. Right, we now come to the urgent question. Shadow Secretary of State, Andrew Boy.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. To ask the Secretary of State for Business and Trade to make a statement regarding the Government's decision to issue general trade licences for sanction-processed oil products prohibited under the Russia Sanctions EU Exit Regulations 2019.
Minister.
Mr Speaker, Putin must never be allowed victory in Ukraine. And we will do everything we can as a government and as a country to debilitate and degrade the Russian war machine. That is precisely what our sanctions regime is designed to do. We've sanctioned more than 3,300 individuals and organisations and hundreds of shadow fleet tankers. It's as tough a sanctions regime as any in the world, and we are proud of it. I want to make it absolutely clear that our sanctions regime today is tougher than it was yesterday or last week. In fact, thanks to the Russia Sanctions EU Exit Amendment Regulations 2026 statutory instrument, we will, for the first time, from today, for the first time, ban the import not only of uranium, but also the import of Russian oil products processed in a third country. We are not lifting any existing sanctions at all. We are, like other countries, phasing in these sanctions, which is why, in the light of the situation in the Middle East, we have issued a targeted, temporary licence to allow the continued import of diesel and jet fuel. These licences are temporary and targeted. We will review them regularly and repeatedly and will suspend them as soon as we possibly can. As a result of all of the measures that we have taken, there will be less Russian oil on the market, not more. Russia will be poorer, not richer, and Putin will be weaker, not stronger.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in its 18th packet of sanctions in January this year, His Majesty's Government prohibited the import of Russian petroleum products produced in third countries from Russian oil, obliging importers to provide proof of the origin of oil used in petroleum product production. Yet yesterday evening at 7 p.m, whilst we in this very chamber were debating the future of our own North Sea oil and gas industry, and Labour MPs were being equipped to vote against new oil and gas licences in the North Sea, the government slipped out an announcement that general trade licence for sanctioned processed oil products now permits certain activities prohibited under the Russian Sanctions Regulations 2019, such as the import of diesel and jet fuel to the UK. In other words, Mr. Speaker, this government has rolled back on its commitments to Ukraine and given the green light to purchase Russian oil from third countries, while at the same time as they were whipping their MPs to vote to shut down our own oil and gas production. The exact same time. It's an absolute disgrace, and they should all be utterly ashamed of themselves. What message does this send the international community? What message does this send the people of Ukraine? And what message, Mr. Speaker, does this send to our workers in our own North Sea oil and gas industry, which is being crushed by the misguided eco-zealotry of the Secretary of State for Energy Security and Net Zero? And also, Mr. Speaker, we are not only rewarding the thuggish and criminal behaviour of the Russian state, we are punishing ourselves and the skilled workforce here in the United Kingdom. And who loses out, Mr. Speaker, whilst we signal to Russia that we are willing once again to buy their oil? The British people, Mr. Speaker. We are seeing 1,000 job losses in oil and gas in the UK every single month, losing out on £25 billion in tax revenue over the next 10 years, which we could be investing in our public services. Just yesterday, Mr. Speaker, I pointed out that Moscow would be celebrating the useful idiots opposite, and today the government has proved my point. According to the government website, where the announcement was made yesterday, the Secretary of State does have the power to vary, revoke or suspend this licence at any time. So can the Minister say if the Secretary of State will consider this decision? Can I ask the Minister why he believes that increased reliance on foreign imports improves British energy security? What alternatives did the government consider? And who on earth is in charge of our energy security? The Energy Secretary, the Prime Minister, or is it Vladimir Putin?
Yeah. Mr. Speaker, first of all, I think the member must have missed the fact that there was a statutory instrument which implements the ban on refined Russian crude oil products processed in a third country for the first time coming into force today. It didn't come into force earlier on the year. It didn't, incidentally, Mr. Speaker, come into force when he was in government, because when they were in government, they allowed the continued processing of oil products to come into the UK, and he personally did absolutely nothing about it. The truth is, both sides of the House agree, and in fact, I think all sides of the House agree. Well, we've not heard from Reform yet, but I think all sides of the House agree that we need to make sure that Putin doesn't prosper. One of the key ways of doing that is making sure that we tackle the shadow fleet, which we've been doing very successfully. More than 500 tankers have been disrupted, $1.6 billion US dollars worth less oil being transported this year than last year because of those sanctions. And to be precise about the question that he's asked, will we review the licences? I've already said that we will review the licences. They are there for a very simple reason, which is that just as when he was a minister, the previous government nearly always introduced sanctions in a phased way. That's precisely what we are doing in relation to these sanctions on oil products that have been processed in a third country. We're doing the right thing here, and I would have thought that he would want to praise us. Unfortunately, I think he's tried to find a political headline rather than look into the facts.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This package of sanctions has come very quickly to us, and I am slightly concerned in how it's been communicated today. So a bit of clarity would be really welcome. So how long will these regulations made under the sanction money law